Be sure to check out Rob Plays. There you can hang out with me while I play video games and talk to you about random life stuff. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and because I already have videos on the history and life of Apocalypse as well as his four horsemen, I figured why not make a video covering his powers. And what I'm hoping is that at the end of this, you'll have a strong understanding of what Apocalypse is capable of, as well as why he's considered one of the most formidable threats of the X-Men in Marvel Comics. So first and foremost, Apocalypse is extremely intelligent, with his intellect being surpassed by only a handful of people, including Reed Richards, Black Panther, and Doctor Doom. And the reason why is that as one of the oldest mutants on Earth, he has around 5,000 years worth of life experience, in addition to knowledge on virtually all forms of science, due to having come into contact with the Celestial Ship, which contains technology thousands of years beyond that currently found on Earth. In addition to this, Apocalypse is an extremely capable demagogue, meaning he's able to rally the beliefs or desires of people towards a single cause. As an example, while there is a video explaining the history of his four horsemen, very rarely does Apocalypse actually force individuals to become his horsemen. Instead, he usually preys on those who are in a weakened mindset, as was seen with Bruce Banner and Archangel, or feeds into their pride, as was seen with Wolverine, allowing Apocalypse to essentially trick them into joining his cause. Furthermore, Apocalypse pops up in some of these weird locations. For example, during the Onslaught Saga, which was a story focusing on the emotions of Charles Xavier and Magneto merging into a psychic being, Apocalypse spent a brunt of the event watching things unfold alongside Uatu the Watcher. And what's funny about this is that because he maintains a social Darwinist ideology and that the weak should perish to make way for the strong, his argument was that he was not going to intervene because the battle with Onslaught would reveal the weak of mutant kind, and those who were too weak to defeat Onslaught didn't deserve to exist. However, when Uatu the Watcher came along and said that if Onslaught wins, he's going to destroy everything, which included Apocalypse, Apocalypse actually changed his tune and assisted in helping to defeat Onslaught. Now, in terms of what most people clicking on this video were looking to see, the powers of Apocalypse exist in two forms: pre-celestial technology and post-celestial technology. Coming out of the story Rise of Apocalypse, which gave us a first look at his inherent mutant powers, Apocalypse's abilities were relatively straightforward when he first appeared. Because he held an affection for a woman named Nefri but was rebuked due to his physical appearance in terms of his gray skin and blue lines, his powers manifested in the same fashion as all mutants. What I mean here is that within Marvel Comics, mutant powers emerge as a result of stress, hormonal development during puberty, or a combination of both. With regards to Apocalypse, because the rejection of Nefri fed back into the abandonment issues he faced when his original tribe left him to die, under the idea that his physical form signified a bad omen, his emotions reached a boiling point, triggering the activation of his enhanced speed, strength, stamina, and immortality. While he would use these powers to essentially lay waste to Egypt and wipe away the old order, allowing for the establishment of the pharaoh monarchies as we know them today, when his revolution ended, he used his abilities to travel the world, planting the seeds of future plans by pitting various cultures against one another to eliminate the weak, but also looking to expand on his own power. Covered in Cable and Deadpool Volume 1, Issues 26 and 27, titled With Eyes Closed, Parts 1 and 2, in the early days of his rule, Apocalypse had stumbled across a ship containing celestial technology. To sidetrack here, if you recall my discussion on the Celestials, we had talked about how they existed as a kind of exploratory race of cosmic aliens who traveled the universe, influencing different planets in different ways. Where little is known about their escapades outside of Earth, what we do know is that their arrival came with the experimentation on early man, leading to the formation of deviants, Eternals, and eventually mutants. Covered in Neil Gaiman's run of the Eternals, unlike deviants and Eternals who saw immediate results from the Celestials' experiments, mutants came as a result of the Celestials planting the X gene, which was programmed to emerge after 15,000 years, leading to the appearance of Selene as the first mutant 12,000 years before Apocalypse's birth. That said, during the early years of his life, Apocalypse had stumbled across a ship left on Earth by the Celestials, but was unable to access it due to the technology being beyond his ability to understand. However, after encountering Cable operating as the Traveler, because Cable had looked to kill Apocalypse before he could rise to power, after the two had engaged in battle, Cable's techno-organic blood merged with Apocalypse, allowing him to access the Celestial Ship. Covered in X-Men Volume 2, Issues 182 through 186 as part of the Decimation storyline, following the House of M, which saw the Scarlet Witch stripping 98% of the mutant population of their powers, where the main event saw Apocalypse intending to use his blood as a means to jumpstart mutant evolution and restore their powers, a backstory was provided stating that after accessing the ship, Apocalypse spoke directly with one of the Celestials and was given a choice: walk away without proceeding further and live his life naturally, or borrow the ship's technology with the requirement that he have to suffer payments later. Deciding to use the ship to his own ends, Apocalypse's existing mutant powers were enhanced several times over, meaning he was virtually immune to harm from all but the strongest beings in existence, but also possessed virtually every superhuman power, including telekinesis, telepathy, energy manipulation, invisibility, shapeshifting, a healing factor, super strength on par with Thor and the Hulk, and the ability to control the molecular structure of his body, transforming his physical form into whatever he desired, or growing to massive sizes. Now, while there have been several instances in which Apocalypse has faced off against powerful beings like Thor, the most impressive came in X Factor Volume 1, issue number 68. Centering on the revelation that Apocalypse's vast abilities were too extreme for his body, the story revealed that in order to survive, he would have to transfer his essence from one host to the next for the rest of eternity. Looking to achieve this goal, with Cyclops and Madeline Pryor producing a son named Nathan, his Omega-level telepathic and telekinetic abilities made him the perfect host for Apocalypse's essence. Taking place in the story Bitter Sacrifices, after discovering that Apocalypse had kidnapped Nathan and taken him to the blue area of the moon, which was a section containing oxygen, Cyclops assembled the full roster of the X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, and the Inhumans in order to take his son back. Launching an attack against the Citadel, while Apocalypse's henchmen were defeated almost immediately, he was able to take on the entire roster of heroes. Now, to point out the significance of this, in this battle, some of the people whom Apocalypse was fighting included the adult Cable, Jean Grey, Black Bolt, whose voice could shatter planets, Iceman, who's one of the most powerful mutants in the world, Professor Xavier, and Colossus. In addition to this, while the story would see Apocalypse forced to retreat, something to take note of is that he wasn't technically defeated. Instead, the massive use of energy left him completely exhausted and unable to maintain the fight. That said, in terms of his weaknesses, this is really the only one. Unlike individuals like Thanos, whose incredible power is a result of his own genetic mutation or cybernetic enhancements, the powers of Apocalypse work against him as opposed to in support of him. As a result, every so often, he literally has to vacate his position in the Marvel landscape, travel back to Egypt, and recharge his energies for 1,000 years or so. During this time, while he is still extremely dangerous, Apocalypse is actually in his weakest form, relatively speaking, and is incapable of defending himself adequately against a foe of equal or slightly lesser strength. As an example, during the Messiah Complex story, which focused on the birth of Hope Summers as the first mutant following the House of M, her existence triggered a literal mad dash from individuals who sought to use her ability to copy powers to take over the world. While Cable served as her protector, his clone Strife remained alive and well as an Omega-level telepath and telekinetic with no equal, aside from Jean Grey and Emma Frost. Accepting the offer of Bishop to help capture Hope due to the fact that Bishop hailed from a future where Hope would become a villain and kill 1 million humans and mutants in a 6-second war, during the Messiah War story, Cable enlisted the aid of Apocalypse, Deadpool, and X-Force, leading to a massive fight between Strife and Bishop and the rest of the group. Now, because Strife and Apocalypse share a mutual hatred, which was covered in my video on the origins of Cable, the powers of Strife were more than Apocalypse bargained for, leading to his near death until he was saved by the actions of Archangel, who used his blood to rejuvenate Apocalypse. Now, while the story would see Strife defeated and Cable escaping with Hope, this highlights the fact that despite his vaunted powers, even at full strength and barring characters like Franklin Richards, Apocalypse can still be defeated by those with sufficient power and energy. With that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know what you guys think about Apocalypse in the X-Men movie. I'm actually really curious to see how things unfold. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.